As an agency, you got so much responsibility, you got so many people to look after. You can't afford to be a Prahlad Kakar and turn and say, up yours, and walk out. Agencies are willing to compromise and sell their mothers.
Your entry into advertising was a coincidence, I guess, not a choice. You
joined because in my life was a choice.
You joined because of a beautiful girl named Farida Fani, is that true?
Correct. How do you know?
I know everything about you.
Yeah, I was... Look,
Can you tell us the story?
I had graduated. I hadn't graduated. I mean, I had given my exams. And, you know, I thought I would get a second class. I ended up with a third class. But I thought I would get a second class. I actually got a first class, but in the subject that I wanted to do.
Yeah.
But in the subjects that I was given, like economics and all, I got a third class. But the subject that I chose for my subs, it was military strategy, and I got a first class in that. But what are you going to do with military strategy? Now people turn around and say, you are an advertising marketing guru. Where did you learn your marketing from? I said, I learned marketing from the best brains in the world. I learned it from Napoleon. I learned it from Clausewitz. I learned it from San Sui. I learned it from Miyamoto Musashi. I learned it from the Gita. So he said, how do you learn management from them? I said, because those are books on how to win wars. And marketing is nothing but a war. So I studied the history of wars, how people won, why they lost, and what was the luck factor that made people win or lose. You know? And what was the information that they got, which they deciphered and sometimes used to their advantage, sometimes they didn't use it at all, despite the information being there with them. You know? So that is what makes a difference in an act of war. Marketing is nothing but war. It's all about strategy. So this is the reason why I'm so good at it, and it's so easy for me to pick up, despite all the words that they use from B school. They use all kinds of shit words, which mean nothing, you know, at the end of it. It's basically strategy. It's how do you outmaneuver your opponent. First in the head, then in physical fact. So first you have to beat him in the mind. Then you have to beat him physically. But if you beat him in the mind, he's already lost. So, what do you call, I got a third, but I thought I'd get a second. So I was walking around looking for a job. And I got a job in a bank. And they called me, but they didn't give me the job. They said, if you get a second, we'll give you the job. But you have to also come for your final interviews. So you've done the first 4 interviews, now you have to do your final interview. It will depend on your results, and it will also depend on what do you call your interview. The interview is a cakewalk for me. I'm very good at interviews, as you can see. But I didn't know about the results. So I was walking around and they said, okay, go. So I was damn happy because everybody wants to join a bank. Because they pay well, they give you lots of facilities and all, and you're like a very desirable son-in-law. Inverted commas. So everybody says, अच्छा आपका लड़का बहुत अच्छा काम कर रहा है, हमारी लड़की भी है. That kind of thing. That is, you get to meet lots of girls, you know. But I made the mistake of going to the bank to see what the environment was like. My God, I saw the ugliest women I've ever seen in my life sitting there. In this windowless room, air conditioned, kadak. They never saw sunlight. From 9 in the morning till bloody 6 in the evening when the sun had already set. They were sitting in this dungeon, in their desks. There were no computers at that time. They had calculators and balancing ledgers with their hands, you know, saying this and this. Oh, I'm short of 50%. What do I do? And then you go back and you study for 2 more hours. You do overtime. You still can't find the 50%. Finally, you take it out of your pocket and put it and balance it. That's what all the bankers do, you know. If there's a discrepancy of 1 rupee, 50%, you know, rather than magajmari and try and find where the mistake is, you just take it out of your pocket and give it. Because it takes you 2-3 hours to balance the ledger again.
And you have to go home by taxi.
Yeah, you know. So, yeah, I saw this person sitting there like this, and I said, all the guys were okay, you know. And they were doing masti and all, but the women were very serious about their job. They wouldn't look left, they wouldn't look right, they were just there, calculating, furiously working. And very ugly. And I thought, if I take this job, I'll die. I'll not see the sun, I'll not see my outdoors. I'm a very outdoorsy kind of person. I always wanted to do things in the sun. Scuba diving, horse riding, tea gardening. I wanted to join the tea garden because it's an outdoor job. Wildlife, bird watching, all that sort of thing, So I looked at this office and I said, I'll die in 1 year. I'll age 10 years in 1 year. So I was unhappy. I said, now we don't have a choice, and if I get a good result, I'll have to come back to the job. Nobody's going to walk away from a bank job. But I started wandering around looking for jobs, on my own, without telling anybody. And I was in Delhi at that time. My parents were in Delhi. So I was roaming around in one bungalow on opposite Jorbagh, on a road called One Ratenden Road. There was a huge bungalow and it was an office. And all these people from the office were sitting on the lawn at lunchtime, sharing their lunch with each other, having garam paratha. And they were eating and talking and lying on the grass. So I said, it's a damn good office. The staff is sitting, at least in a winter day, they're enjoying the sun. And nobody's bothered that it's 2 o'clock. Little one by one they go back to their desks. So I walked in. I said, what do you guys do? So they said, we're a company called ASP. I said, what is that? It's an advertising and sales promotion company. And I said, oh, so you all do advertising? He said, yes. So I said, can I meet somebody? They said, they're all having lunch, but you sit in the reception. Somebody will come. So I went to the reception and I found Farida Pandey. She had the best pair of legs I've ever seen. She was wearing a mini skirt. The desk was like open in front. And she was busily answering phone calls, the reception, and taking notes and giving people appointments. And I just sat there for half an hour just looking at her legs. So finally she looked at me and noticed me and said, irritating job looking at my legs. And she said, what do you want? So I said, oh, I'm looking for a job. Said, what kind of job? We have lots of peons. So I said, no, I've done my economics honors and I didn't tell I've done military strategy because nobody would buy that, They said, what have you done? Military strategy, what does that mean? So I used to keep very quiet about it, But it is a fantastic subject, I'll tell you one thing, I recommend it to anybody who wants to major in military strategy. If a university is offering it, take it. It's the best management course in the world. Because the history of all the wars, the strategies, the manpower, the way you checkmate people, how you won even though you were weaker, and so on, so on. They're brilliant, very fascinating. Anyway, so I've done economics honors. Oh, she says, those days there were very few MBAs. So economics honors was a good thing, So she said, okay, I'll get you an appointment. Then I chatted her up. I started talking to her. And she was very impressed by me, for some reason. She thought I was very cute. She said, okay, I'll see what I can do. So she got me an appointment with the MD, Jog Chatterjee. And a gruff Bengali gentleman. Oh, so what do you want to do? Here. He says, I'll give you a campaign, I want you to write your opinion of it. And at that time there was a campaign which was done by Frank Simoes. He was in O&M and they had done a campaign for a shirt. Okay? And it was a very controversial campaign because in those days, 1970s, it was a very sexually loaded campaign. And the image was, there's a shirt of a man wearing it. And he's back to camera. And over his shoulder you can see a pair of female eyes. Okay? And her hands are around his neck. She's holding her shoes, her high heel shoes in one hand. And the copy is at the bottom of the shirt. And I still remember the copy of one of those things. It was, and then much later, I counted his buttons and opened them one at a time. Tinker, tailor, soldier, sailor. Oops, no more buttons. Okay. That's the copy. And the whole advertising, fraternity was up in arms and said, how can you be so sexually innuendoed? This is wrong, this is immoral, this is ban it. You know how we do. all the time. And he gave me this series of ads and he said, what do you think of them? I looked at him and I said, they're brilliant. He said, huh? He says, you don't think they should be banned? You don't think they're immoral? I said, they're brilliant. Because it has a visual imagery. When you read the copy, it's so well written. You can close your eyes and you can see her opening the buttons with his hairy chest at the back. I said, but it's not in the ad. I said, but you can see it. And at the back of the thing is the shirt with the design and all in it. So you got the shirt. And then you've got the second story of what she's doing behind him. And that's what the copy says. And you can't see it. You can only see eyes. You can only see hands with these stiletto shoes, which also very suggestive, which means that she's barefoot. So he said, I don't think so. So I said, sir, you ask me my opinion, I'll give you my opinion. So he says, it's just because you're young, you all think like this. I said, but isn't that what it's all about? So he said, yeah. So he called me back and he said, okay, I'll give you a job. But I won't give you a job in creative. I'll give you a job as an assistant servicing person. So I didn't know what the difference was anyway, you know. I just joined. And my salary was less than the PM. And I spent 1 year there and we did lots of gochies, you know, we stayed after office. I got hold of a young trainee visualizer. We used to do our own ads. We used to present them also, you know, shove them between the official ads. It started from there actually, you know. The official ads used to go, client used to say, nahi, yes, no, change this, change that, you know, all that sort of rubbish. I used to be the little messenger boy running backwards and forwards, doing all this, sitting in the printing press at night, doing, you know, it was crazy. So I thought, we can also make iron ads. So I called this girl, I said, let's do our own. So she said, how can you, we don't have a brief? I said, we won't, we'll do it after us. I said, you stay back for 2 hours, we'll do an ad and we'll slip it in and we'll say, okay, we also have it. You know. So during the presentation, the client used to tear everything apart and then he says, sir, we have one more idea, can you want to see it? And everybody gave us a dirty look. He said, who told you to do this? I said, no, we'll show it to you. And it, believe it or not, it used to get approved. Then everybody used to, you know, say, what is this, you don't do this, you know. Then they started locking up the office at 6 so that we couldn't work after. Then we used to work at home, you know. But we carried on doing that, you know. So that's where it all started, this whole idea that you don't have to listen to your betters and elders. You can have your own ideas and you can take your chances with them if you want to take your chances. You of course annoy everybody because they get very irritated. They say, "Humne itna mehnat ki hai and we've done such a great job and we're such great people and we've had 20 years of experience." And they, who are you? You know, the Kalka Londa and this stupid girl, and you've done your own thing and that's been approved. I mean, the client is an idiot. So the client became an idiot, you know, for whatever it's worth. The client is always an idiot. Anyway. So I joined advertising without knowing what it was.
Because of Farida.
Because of Farida Pandey's legs. I mean, eventually it was because I told him about those Shalimar.
Was she beautiful?
She was very good. But she had great legs. And in Delhi, at those days, in the 70s, you never saw mini skirts. You only saw them in your dreams. She had gutsy girl. She was about 5'9", and mini skirts. And she knew she had great legs, so she used to just walk around with the great legs. So people used to stop talking, you know, when she used to go past, with the mouth open. Finally, after writing about her and her legs, one day, about 30 years later, my assistant tells me there's a lady in a sari with a deep voice who says she knows you. Should I let her in? I said, yeah. In walks this statuesque woman, you know, in a chiffon sari, pearls, you know. I mean, she put on a lot of weight, but not enough to not make her look beautiful. She was really blossomed into a really stunning looking woman. And she says, you know who I am? I said, no, ma'am. She says, I am the woman you keep writing about all the time and whose legs, my husband keeps asking me, so what are these legs you're talking about? And I put on so much weight on the legs that I can't show them anymore. You know? So I am Farida Pandey. I always fell down, you know. So we got up and we gossiped and it was great fun. I'm still in touch with her.
After Farida Pandey, Haven't you found anybody as beautiful, who could
Always.
inspire you to quit advertising? Actually, he joined because of Farida.
No, I found Aishwarya Rai, I found, Rachel Rubens. I found so many great looking, intelligent women who I sort of claim to have discovered. Actually bullshit. I never discovered anything. God discovered them, whatever way it is. But I had the privilege of knowing them really well and directing them and shaping them in some manner or another. And I had a great time. I'll never get bored of advertising, because even if I do features, which I want to do now, the fact is I'll always keep coming back to advertising, because it's like a shot in the arm, It's chatwangi. It's like a quickie, It's like a marriage versus quickie. So if you do feature films, it takes bloody 1.5 years to make one feature. Edit, tattoo, 1.5 years you're bloody stuck there doing one thing. But ad films are like, 4 days, 5 days of intense, occupation, and then off. So it's like when you're married and you know everything that's going to happen. You even know the kind of sex you're going to do. Compared to, you get stuck because your flight gets cancelled in some strange place. And they're all the passengers, and they're all put up in a hotel. And you find this really stunning girl who you chat up over dinner. And you're stuck there for 2-3 days because of floods or whatever else there, And you know that she's going to go back to her life after 3 days. You're going to go back to your life after 3 days, okay? And though you might keep in touch with each other, it's never going to be the same. You're never going to be isolated in some strange hotel, in some strange place, without any relatives, any people prying. And there's this intense love affair that you have for 3 days. It burns you. If it was any more than 3 days, you would die, because it's so intense. So you do everything that you can, you fantasize, you do the whole works. You have this great affair. And then the best part of the affair is that it has to end tragically. So she gets onto the flight, you get onto the flight, and she flies away, you fly away.
Do you have that hangover or no?
Of course, you always have that hangover. You always fantasize, you always become better with age. Because 2 and 2 is 22. So when you think about it, you forget all the not so nice parts. You only think about the nice parts, and they become overwhelming. So it becomes like an ad film. That's what an ad film is like. A really good ad film is intense, it's immediate, and you leave it behind because your name is not attached to it. Your reputation is, but not your name. So you can always say that you didn't make it if it is a really shitty one.
But now since Prahlad Kakar makes it, half of the India knows that you made it.
No. If I deny it, then nobody knows.
I think someone had famously said that half of my advertising budget is wasted, simply don't know which half. Is it, that was said 100 years back, is it still half the money wasted, or more, less?
I think they're getting better and better.
They're wasting more and more.
They're wasting more, because I find that they research so much, they discuss so much, that at the end of it, it becomes the lowest common denominator. Therefore, it has to be 4. I believe that 2 and 2 equals to 4 is mediocre. But the standard has become 2 and 2 is equal to 4, because they don't allow you that latitude. The greatest work that I've done, frankly, was with a girl called Anuja Chauhan from JWT on Pepsi. Because we had a client called Vibha Rishi, and she trusted us implicitly. And she said, between Anubha, Zap and me, she says, if you guys think so, go with it. At the most, you'll be wrong. But we'll see, no? But if you don't try it, you'll never know whether you're right. So, she allowed us to change things. She allowed us to add to things. Nothing was sacrosanct. And look at the campaigns we did for her at that time, when Pepsi first started. Nothing official about it, this, that. And they were so joyous. You could see the sheer pleasure that the filmmaker had in making it, copywriter had in writing it. Because we used to sit on the set and rewrite the script. Because in rehearsals we realized, it's not working. So you used to ring up Vibha. I said, Vibha, it's not working, we're changing it. She says, just make sure it works. Do it. Is it going to cost me more? She said, no, it's not going to cost you. But we're changing it. So she said, what are you going to do? I said, I won't tell you right now, I'll show it to you. So you shoot the film and show it to her. That whole Sachin film with the mask was actually done as we went along. On the phone, we're changing the caste. What are you doing? I'm not taking these upmarket children from these expensive elitist schools. We're taking them from a basti. No, you can't do that because they're not our target audience. I said, no, Vibha, just think. Your line is Dil Mange Mo. That means it's all about dreams. Who has a bigger dream? The guy in the high rise or the guy in the Jhopalpatti? Who has a bigger dream? So the guy in the Jhopalpatti. So let him be. Let him dream. Let Pepsi encourage dreaming. So what is it that you wanted? Dil Mange Mo what? More Pepsi? I said, that sounds stupid. No? He says, more out of life. Pepsi should stand for life, not one bottle. That's incidental. But what are you trying to say? Trying to say Pepsi is life. Life is about dreaming. Life is about following your dreams. Who has the bigger dream? The basti kid or the high-rise kid? Because he's got everything. Even come in his father's car. But what of the basti kid? He's got his whole life ahead of him. God knows what he wants to become. Right now he wants to become Sachin in that film because he got a Sachin mask on and he's playing cricket under a tree. You know? So she says, I know I'm going to get into trouble on this one. So I said, doesn't matter, Subheba. Let's just do it. Let's see what happens. She said, okay, do it. That kind of a client.
I read that you didn't tell the kids that they were going to meet Sachin.
We didn't tell them that because they weren't actors, no? Yeah. They were just basti kids, so they were very good with doing what they were doing. But the most critical shot in that was that they lift their mask to drink the Pepsi, and they suddenly realized that the guy next to him lifted his mask and is Sachin behind the Sachin mask. I wanted that reaction, so I told my cameraman, I said, boss, you एक shot मिलने वाला है. You better be on the ball. You miss the shot, I'll kill you. So he said, okay. I told Sachin, don't move your mask. And he was in the trailer. He never came out. He only came out for that shot with the mask on. So nobody knew who he was. So he came, he sat down with the kids, and then they took the mask off. They all looked at him and said, firstly they didn't recognize him immediately because it was just too much of a shock. Yeah. You know? And they looked at him and said, Sachin! And then they wouldn't touch him. You know, they wanted to touch him like when you touch God, no? See, this is the difference between Jhopalpatti kids and these cocky, upmarket kids. Upmarket kids would have mobbed him. Give me autograph, give me this, give me that, touched him, hung around. These kids were looking at him like a Ganpati or a Ganesh or something, who they've been told all their life, don't touch it. It's there lying in the temple, in the house also sometimes. Yeah. But they've been told, don't touch it. So they pray to it, they do everything to it, but when nobody is looking, they touch it, to see whether they get some kind of energy out of it. That's how they were doing. They all come there, they all wanted to hold his sleeve. They didn't grab him, they should just touch him like that and do this, like they do, like you do to God. It was just unbelievable, it was such an education for me to think that we had got 10% of it right and 90% of it we learned from that experience.
You focus a lot on emotions and expressions, don't you? Yeah,
I've noticed. Yeah. But that's life. Huh?
Yeah.
I mean, storytelling is all about, storytelling is only the spine. What is the flesh and the muscle and the hair and the looks of a thing is the emotions. You layer the emotions. You must feel. You must touch your audience with emotion. If you cannot touch them with emotion, they forget your message. They have to take it away in their hearts, not in their minds. The mind comes later. First you must touch the hearts. If you can touch the hearts, you got them.
About Sachin, he's not an actor, he's a non-actor, but how do you make him act?
We don't
at least convincing in his story.
We don't make him act. That's another great thing about Vibha. I told her, I said, see, he's not an actor, we can't give him lines. Because he looks stupid. And he's too important to us as a cricketer, as a icon, as a role model, for me to make him look stupid. I don't want to do that. So I'm going to do whatever I can to make him look like a hero. And the only way I can do that, Vibha, is I'll write for him. I'll sit with him and rehearse the lines and see what he's comfortable with. So nothing can be sacrosanct. So you can't write a script and give it to him and say, "Isko learn kar le." He's not an actor. That's not his job. So if he says, "No, I'm not comfortable. I'm comfortable playing cricket," we'll do that. So what you're trying to achieve is that Sachin drinks Pepsi, Pepsi promotes Sachin. Okay, that's your message. Regardless of how we get there, we get there. Let's do it. Let's keep it open. I did that with Britannia also. My son was 3 years old, 2 years old. You can't tell him what to do here. You can't tell Sachin what to do. You can't tell that stupid 2-year-old kid to tell. So I put them in a room and I put all the cameras hidden, all over. And I told them, you just play. These are the situations. You're playing chess. He's stealing biscuits. He's doing this. He's doing that. These are the situations. I said, you talk to him. You direct him. We are not there. We are invisible. We are not even going to chew. So Sachin said, okay, let's try it. So it took them about 2 hours to get friendly with each other. Then they got used to each other. Then they started doing masti. And we shot that masti. There was no script. They were just doing masti. Eating biscuit, laughing, wrestling, playing chess, doing all kinds of things, We shot those and made those into those Britannia films. They were stunningly successful. Because people looked at those films and it was sheer emotion, nothing else. They said, wow, how did you get Sachin to do all this? I said, I didn't actually get him to do this. I didn't even tell him what to do. He did it because I told him to look after the kid. So his whole concentration was trying to make the kid laugh. So he had to make faces, he had to do all kinds of things to make the kid laugh, or to keep him occupied at least. And the kid was everybody's dada because he is not willing to listen to his attention span was 5 seconds. After that, I don't want to do it, So we are such a usko kar yaar kuch, kuch nahi kar raha, late gaya wahan pe. Middle of the set he's lying down, not doing anything. So Sachin will say, come on, we'll do this. Piggyback, I'll play horsey, you get on my back, we'll do. They'll do all that shit. And we shot it, Now, when you look at those films, you realize that nobody's acting, it's happening. And when you cut them together, they were devastating. Every mother said, I want Sachin and I want that boy. That's it. What more do you want in 1970? It just transcends the brief. So it was Sunil Alag's idea, Sunil Alag was the head of Britannia at that time. Guts, big guts. He said, doesn't matter, you shoot for 3 days, you don't get anything, I'm willing to underwrite it. It's a waste of money, fine. But whatever you get will be magic. I said, yes. As an agency, you got so much responsibility, you got so many people to look after. You can't afford to be a Prahlad Kakar and turn and say, up yours, and walk out. Agencies are willing to compromise and sell their mothers.